esoteric up in this. I never imagined I would have so much to say about nothing, or that I'd be talking about nothing and everything existing simultaneously without substances in my system. Here we are. This is going to be a relatively short video. I have pages of notes, which are here on my laptop in front of me. I will be referencing them because as promised, I do not deliver opinions. I don't get my facts from blogs or from TikToks. I go straight to the source. Back to zero. So let's talk about the origin of zero. In the beginning, as far as we know, there was no actual number zero. It was originally in Mesopotamia. They used spaces to represent a lack of something. In 350 AD, the Mayans started to use zero to represent thresholds and new beginnings in their calendars. That's where we start to get into the esoteric witchy history. For the muggle history, the actual zero... Oh, Chiron is back there. This is Chiron, my familiar. He's joining us, as usual. The actual value of zero was defined in 7th century AD by mathematician Brahmagupta. He is the first mathematician to prove that subtracting a number from itself equals zero, assigning it a value. Let's get into why we're actually here. In Mesoamerican paganism, the Mayan zero represent completion and thresholds. So on day 0 of the month, it was the day that gods would essentially clock in and out. On day 0, God A would clock out. God B would come in and represent the next cosmic era. They actually had a date 0. I didn't know their gods took shifts. In Greek polytheism, we have the chasm of chaos. I don't know if you guys have seen this show on Netflix called Chaos. It's really funny. I highly recommend it. In the Greek mythology, they believed that there was nothing. It was an absolute void. Nothing existed. All of a sudden, Gaia and Tartarus emerged from nothing directly out of the void. Look at Norse polytheism. The nothingness was actually charged. They called it the yawning void or the magical abyss. The Ginnungagap was not empty. It is where fire and ice collided to create Ymir, a primeval giant that created the world. Absolute nothingness, chasm of chaos in Greek mythology. Norse polytheism, a charged void that contained fire and ice. Both were where everything spawned from. This is the beginning of everything. Now, when we go to the Eastern traditions, in Hinduism, they called it sunya, or they do call it sunya. It's the ultimate spiritual practice. Basically, the emptiness that everything springs from. Are you seeing the pattern here? I'm seeing the pattern here. In Buddhism, you have the Heart Sutra, which says, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Basically, nothing's fixed, independent existence isn't a thing because everything's interconnected. Now we have the Abrahamic religions, where we will continue to, oh jeez, bird in my hair, where we will continue to see the same pattern play out, which isn't super surprising to anyone who's paid attention to modern Christianity in the Western world over the last few hundred years. In Judaism, you have the Kabbalah. Zero is the Ein Sof, or the infinite and endless. It's basically saying that God has no boundaries, limits, or fixed characteristics. It is the state of the divine before creation. Again, nothingness is something, but not really, like in the Norse polytheism. Not confusing at all. In Christianity, it is the belief of creation out of nothing. This is where modern creationism comes from. So the entire physical universe was brought into being from absolute zero by divine command. In Islam, the shape of zero, the closed circle, represents the perfection of God, who is without beginning or end, both the origin point and the final destination. Sounds a lot like the Ouroboros, if you ask me. And then next we have the occult and mysticism, the fun stuff. In Jewish mysticism and the Hermetic Kabbalah, zero represents absolute transcendence. It's something that you should strive for. It is the infinite space and potential for anything to exist. In Theosophy by H.P. Blavatsky, who wrote The Secret Doctrine, zero represents the absolute, basically the limitless circle of the cosmos. It marks the boundary of the unmanifested world and the potential that it holds for all future forms. 0 in the Secret Doctrine illustrates how spirits descend outward into matter and contract inwards back into spirit in an internal cycle. Do I really understand what that means? No, I don't. If someone could explain that to me in the comments, that would be wonderful. In alchemy and hermeticism, we have the Ouroboros. 0 visually and symbolically represented by a snake eating its own tail. Sometimes it's a dragon. It symbolizes unity, totality, and the infinite cyclical nature of life. It'll come up later in the end of these videos. I'm going to try and supply a ritual that you can use the numbers for, so keep in mind Ouroboros when we get to the ritual later in the video. For occult and mysticism, we have the Pythagorean arithmosophy. Pythagoras basically rejected 0. He said 1 is the first true number. I don't stand 0. Get out of my face.
Denied.
But later, the philosophers that he actually trained began to integrate 0 to explain that 0 is unformed chaos. Sounds familiar? And then 0 morphs into 1, which equals order, which is also true in numerology. 0 is the potential, 1 is the existence. Now, for modern day significance, we have Tarot, which is the Fool card, representing pure, unformed soul before entering the material realm. It's usually a figure stepping off of a cliff and making maybe impulsive, rash decisions. This is the official definition. The divine spark of innocence, taking a leap of faith and infinite potential. Guys, I knew what I was doing when I got into this. Like, I could continue studying the number 0 for months, maybe years. The other thing in numerology is 0 acts as a magnifier. So in numbers like 10, 20, and 30, the 0 magnifies the meaning of the 1, the 2, and the 3. In astrology, we have 0-degree placements, which represents the most raw, pure form of that energy. For example, 0 degree of Aries represents the most Aries energy that exists. With new moons, when they are from 0 degrees from the sun and the moon, the cosmic 0 point resets the lunar cycle. We also have Pluto, which I'm a Scorpio rising, so we stand Pluto here. Pluto represents the underworld or the void, total destruction, and the rebirth that follows. Pluto maps to Hades. I think 0 has a lot to do with death. Again, it's like a well. You can fall in and it can kill you, but it also gives you life. It's both everything and nothing at the same time. I'm going to stop before I sound like the guy standing out front of a 7-Eleven.
Oh no.
Now for rituals, as promised, let's check on Chiron for a sec. How you doing, bud? Whoop. I swear he understands every word I say. For rituals, I'm going to do an experiment with this. I am going to do a ward for my name. I'm also going to do a ward for Chiron's name. Instead of using the typical circle, I'm going to, which could also represent 0, I am going to work in an Ouroboros because I want this to be infinite. We will see how it goes. I will do a follow-up video to explain. Let me know how you use 0 in your practice. If you could go ahead and like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Let me know what I missed. Let me know if I pronounced something incorrectly. I will be back with the number 1 as soon as I get it done, hopefully next week. I'm going to try and get it done by Sunday. I work full-time too, so I'll let you know. I do also do weekly readings, which are published on Sundays. I do monthly readings for the collective. I do personal one-on-one reading. Let me know if you're interested in any of those. Thank you for being here and sticking with us to the end. Chiron says goodbye. Thanks, guys. Hope you all have the week you deserve.